Tonight, Texas teachers stand one step closer to a pay raise. The Texas House is considering a bill to give teachers and librarians an extra $5,000 a year. The Senate already passed the measure. Eyewitness News reporter Vanessa Croy spoke to two local teachers who could use that extra cash, but they want other school workers to get raises too.
It takes a special kind of person to teach, and not to say that I'm great at it, but there's definitely something about it that I love.
For 8 years, Adrian Reyna has dedicated his life to his students.
You know, I know teachers, myself included, who are working 60, 70 hours a week.
So when the Texas Senate passed a bill to give teachers an additional $5,000 a year, Reyna said he welcomes the extra pay.
We're finally showing educators and public education the respect they deserve.
But the Longfellow middle school teacher still has concerns.
When you talk about the increased cost of living, the increased cost of health care, the fact that we're still buying a good chunk of supplies because, you know, just in some school districts, right, they don't have the resources that others do, and so you're still footing the bill there.
Pre-K teacher David Garza agrees. He's a single dad and sometimes struggles to make ends meet.
You really do have to budget. You have to make sure that, you know, you're going to have enough at the end of the month to carry you through.
Garza has been teaching for a decade at De Zavala Elementary, but he started his career as a teacher's aide.
And I know firsthand that our assistants work just as hard as we do.
And while this hardworking teacher appreciates the salary bump, he said it should include everyone on campus.
Because it's a team to educate our children, and there's a lot of people on that team, and there's a lot of people who, you know, they're not receiving everything that they should be receiving.
And even though Senate Bill 3 does include librarians, Reyna agrees that all staff should get the hike in pay.
They're an integral part of what we do on campus every day, and, you know, making sure that our students are taken care of requires everybody. And so